Thank you, Ian. Welcome. Well, good afternoon. And what I'm going to talk about more, we are a delivery partner to both LOCOG and ODA, but particularly to ODA. Because all our work is largely to putting in the infrastructure, helping them put the infrastructure in, and then delivering the services to deliver the games and deliver the spectators, the workforce, to the sites around London. So if I talk about what our main objectives are, first of all, as I said, we are supporting the ODA in delivering the infrastructure. We're putting in about £6.5 billion worth of infrastructure, which from our own investment programme, which was born out of when we putting in the bid with back in 2003. And we're putting in about £500 million worth of infrastructure supported by ODA for game-specific infrastructure that was acquired, which will leave legacy afterwards, rather than just putting a lot of temporary stuff in that gets pulled out and not used. So making sure we get best value out of the money that's being put into games. Then we're working now with ODA to actually find the solutions to move the people around London to the various venues, as Hugh just talked about. And we're working very closely, glove in hand, with ODA to do that, along with the other partners that ODA have. Then we are supporting LOCOG, largely we've supported them in procuring the bus fleets and going out to tenders and so forth, as you've heard from Wilburn. But we're working with them on the ticketing for the system, transport ticketing, that is, not the main ticketing, so it matches up with the venue tickets that spectators will be having, because, as you know, if you have a ticket to the venue, you get free transport on that day to the venue. But what everyone's missed to begin with, what everyone sort of seemed to miss, was that the games have a wider impact on London than just for the athletes and for the sport. It will impact the whole of London in more ways than one, because not only is the Olympics or the Games a sporting event, but it's a cultural Olympiad as well. And also it's a time to show off London to the best. So we're trying to promote London as a business opportunity as well. So we can generate more income for the capital itself. So there we're working with GLA and with ODA to make sure not only do we keep London moving and working, because we've got to keep going at the same time, as the games are going on, but we're promoting London and making sure that we show London off to its best. So looking towards the infrastructure that we talked about, it goes back to when I moved into TfL back in 2003 and putting the bid together for our investment programme. We were looking to regenerate the east side of London. And at that time, it was decided it was a good idea to put a bid in for Olympic Games. And Hugh did a wonderful job in turning what was supposedly a weak part of our bid into, in the end, what was a strength. But we've got to now show that it is a strength and actually deliver that. And we continue to work very hard with Hugh to make sure we don't let him down. But it's a challenge that thankfully we're all moving pretty well to complete with Hugh, especially on the infrastructure. That's 6.5 billion, 7 billion pounds in total. For instance, in the Docklands Light Railway, you've seen the city airport and all extensions go in, bringing many more people into London. The DLR is forecast to grow from some 68 million to 83 million by 2012. Now, with Hugh's support, we've put in 55 extra carriages on the Docklands Light Railway, so that enabled us to have 3-car trains throughout the system. And to do that, we've also therefore had to extend platforms and upgrade platforms and stations, etc. On London Underground, you probably all know about the Jubilee line. Apologies for the delays over the weekend with all the works that have to go on, but sometime we have to do the works. But with adding the 7th car and upgrading the signalling that we're doing at the moment, we're increasing capacity by some 48%. So hopefully, and it's nearly complete now, when it's all complete and you see a much better railway than you've got at the present. But it's increasing passenger flow by about 5,000 an hour to strength that goes from O2 to Wembley to Olympic Park, Cane Town. So it's a central line for the whole of the for the Olympics. We've refurbished a lot of our stations with tube lines, and King's Cross has been changed out of all proportion. It's a wonderful station at the moment, and similarly, North Greenwich and Wembley Park have been significantly upgraded. In addition, Green Park and Southfields will be accessible, become an accessible station, step-free. You'll see a lot of work going, those in central London, with Green Park station coming out onto Green Park itself. It's going to be a tremendous station when that's completed. And similarly, we've been upgrading the Central Line, the District Lines, serving East London. And we're progressively introducing new trains. See some coming on the Victoria Line very soon. In addition, London Overground. Back in 2007, when we took over from Silverlink Metro, we started to develop what we trying to think of an orbital railway. We took over the West London line from them. And then, along with support from Hugh, we've been improving the North London line, which links the two together. And then we've also been putting in place, which should come in about June time, the East London line. So with the extra line, linkage is going to be put in place while the work's going to happen at London Bridge between Clapham Junction and Cross Gate, we find we've got a good circle, many of which are step-free. So we've got 65 new trains to service that, and all with air conditioning, CCTV, and wheelchair access, etc. So we're seeing a great improvement, and this was a sort of a vision when I first came in to TfL, that they would have this circular line, also the M25 of the railway, if you like. On service transport, Hugh's mentioned the ORN, which we're putting in place with him, but we're also putting in place the Transport Coordination Centre. So all the transport centres are being coordinated in one place within Palestra, within TfL buildings, so that we could actually have much closer communications with each other. We're putting in place the East London Transit, which is a busway system from Ilford to Dagenham Dock, and we're improving some of the piers, and in particularly Tower Pier is being improved significantly. So how are we going to make all this work? Well, as I sort of intimated early on, the success of London 2012 is not just about the games, it's mostly about the games, but it's about the whole visit experience. The moment someone lands at Heathrow or wherever, the moment they've gone through London, seen the games, seen the cultural events, joined in the life sites, had a jolly good party, and then done shopping, and so forth, seen the sights, and then gone back to Heathrow and gone back off to their homeland. So that is the whole experience that we've got to try and make sure is good and pleasurable for everybody. So it's about matching the outstanding experiences that will be offered inside the stadia, which Wilburn and Hugh are putting in place, and making sure that London welcomes visitors and putting up a good look and feel around the place, and make sure the cultural events are linked as appropriate, get people there easily and comfortably, and they're well signposted, and make sure that all the other events that are offered are linked up. So to do that, the Mayor's vision is to extend an inspirational games experience across the whole of London, ensuring it's safe, and everyone's well informed, and everyone gets involved, not just visitors, but those who are putting on the transport or any of the events. Everyone works together and to make a tremendous experience. To showcase London, not just domestically, but across globally, as an outstanding place to live, visit, work, and most importantly, or in these times, to do business. And as our to make sure that it's a safe and mutually supportive approach to the operational delivery of the games, and finally to keep London working and moving, as I said already. Now, another version of the same diagram that you've seen already from each of the other two presentations, but I've got a slight difference here, is that where Wilburn talks about 77 days of the games, for transport and for London, we're really talking about 100 days, because we've got Diamond Jubilee at start on the 2nd and 5th of June, so it's not much time from then to the games themselves. So it's going to be pretty, and then we've got to build the stadia around Horse Guards for beach volleyball, because that's where most of the celebrations for the Diamond Jubilee will be, so between that time. So there'll be a lot of impact upon the road system within London to make sure that we get all the logistics there, but also without affecting the people too much. So secondly, the other difference you've got here is that if you look at September time, Wilburn talks about the transition between the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, when we change not only the stadium, but we take down all the bunting for the Olympic Games and put the bunting up, etc., for the Paralympic Games. But in the middle there, we've got Notting Hill Carnival, just to make things a little bit more tricky for us. So it really is an intensive 100 days of effort that's got to go in from all the service providers on transport. It's not a mean feat. When we're talking about the RN back December a year ago, and before we went out to consultation, everyone was talking about the east side of London. And I just happened to be thinking in the Bath at that time. The best place to think really is in the Bath. What else was going on in London? I sort of, in my own mind, drew up this sort of map. If I go out, it's very complicated and very full. It just shows how much activity is going to go on in central London. If you look at these, so the orange bits, that's all if you like to do the Games family. You've got the Olympic Route Network zooming around London, somewhere with a distinct route for all the Games family, and as Wilburn said, there'll be 4,500 vehicles moving around London on that Olympic Route Network, taking athletes to and from their accommodation to the various venues. You've got Russell Square on the right-hand side up there. You've got the media accommodation, and they'll be wanting to go to the various venues as well. You've got around Hyde Park, you've got the IOC accommodation, you've got the depot that Wilburn talked about, and then around sort of Whitehall, that sort of area again, you've got the Olympic Route Network, because there's as I said, there's a stadium for beach volleyball on Horse Guards Parade. So there's a lot happening there. Then, if you look at the blue blobs, you've got the sort of venues. You've got the IOC-related events at Royal Opera House. You've got the venues at beach volleyball at Horse Guards. And in fact, down the Mall was likely to be the start and finish of road races, which sometimes clash with the same sort of time as the beach volleyball. And then on Hyde Park, you've got not only a live site, but you've got the triathlon, so you've got swimming and the open water swimming in the Serpentine, and the cultural events in addition in Hyde Park. And then in volleyball at Earl's Court, and finally at the top there in Lords you've got archery. So that's the, if you like, the event side of things. And then you've got around sort of the normal business. You've got London people, commuters coming during the week, because unlike most events in London, we put on more than 200 events, big events in a year, more than about 2,000 to 4,000 events in total, but they all happen at weekends, generally speaking. What we've got a difference here, it covers not only the weekends, but we've got 17 days of events for the Olympics themselves throughout London and during the working week. So you've got to say, London people, commuters coming in, what's going to happen to the goods and freight vehicles coming? Who's going to deliver to the businesses? You've got blue badge holders coming, municipal services, the refuse and disposal functions and so forth, and residents parking. People don't want to get in and out from their homes, not just be isolated or have to leave their cars in their houses, etc. So, something like there's a lot going on in that central zone. So at that point, talking with the Mayor's advisor, he decided it would be a good idea to set up city operations, to see how we manage all the events, the wider events in the city itself. So we've got two sets of the 19 work streams there. You've got London Experience, which talks about the visitor experience, the Welcome to London, live sites. So we've basically 5 live sites. Victoria Park at the east side. You've got Potter's Fields and Jubilee Gardens on the South Bank. And you've got Hyde Park. And then we've got all the things like non-accredited media. You know, keep the media happy, otherwise they write bad things about you in the papers, etc. We don't want that. City celebrations on the London Experience. And then on the public services side, you've got the amenity things. And what I'm particularly looking at with him is the movement management. How do we manage the conflict of people versus vehicles? Because when we had the last really big event, there's nothing like the size of this Grand Depart Tour de France back in 2007, we had to really manage some areas for that in that weekend because of the areas that the event took up. And again, very similar to the sort of central London issue that we've got coming up with the Olympics, but it was only for a weekend, not for 17 days or 17 days. So how are we going to manage that? Well, basically, around the venue, we keep it very hard boundaries, and people will not allowed to be in unless they're specifically allowed to with OCOG, and then gradually loosen out, letting people in, but restricting through traffic in particular, so people can get to and from their businesses and their homes, but they will be sort of encouraged to keep movement to a minimum in those areas. So if you look at central London, key areas that we're talking about, say around about Trafalgar Square, that area there, where there's a lot going on. And the other area is sort of Marble Arch top end of Park Lane, where everyone's going to Hyde Park and coming out, and all the hotels down there. And sort of little one round back Hyde Park corner. So those are the key areas within central London we're looking at, and this will be the pilot, if you like, for maybe other areas in London that may need people to look at movement management between vehicles and people, maybe around Greenwich, maybe around Newham. But before anything, and indeed, you know, when what regimes will go in place alongside that, you know, whether we ask people to load at night rather than during the day, or deliver at night during the day. Whatever happens, these will be depending upon the final event schedule, because timing is paramount importance when things are timing. And the other big difference with the Olympics compared with other games, we've got several sessions during the day. So people, beach volleyball, you've got 4 sessions during the day, so people coming and going together or in quick succession, rather than like a sort of Chelsea Cup final, people come all at once or dribble in and then all leave at once, just one. Here you've got coming backwards and forwards 3 or 4 times. But before we decide any of that, we'll go out to consultation later on in the year once we know exactly what the timings and what the precise routes of the events are, especially the road routes and other things, and the precise numbers of people we think will be arriving. We know from spectators will arrive because we've got the number of tickets. But what about those who just want to come up to gather the atmosphere of London? There's a bit of a judgment guess there, and London is much more accessible than most other sites that recently have held the games. Beijing, you just don't nip across the channel. You actually have a number of flights, and therefore you're rather restricted in the number of seats on flights, and similarly, and then how many Chinese are interested in the games. It's a similar thing in Sydney. But London, I suppose, suddenly Germany were doing well. Suddenly a lot of Germans might take the day off to come across to see what's going on. So we have to factor that in, and we're looking at those sort of calculations at the moment. So once all that comes together in about a couple of months' time, we'll be able to go out and say what we need to do to manage all that and come out and consult. So to make sure we take into account the residents, businesses and freight, mobility impaired, taxi passengers, bus passenger emergency services, all those sort of things. But the priority will always be given to the ORN. We've got to get the athletes to their venues on time, as I say, not like Sir Steve Redgrave had to thumb a lift from Princess Anne in Atlanta. One thing on freight, I think it's worthwhile noting, it's going to be important that, especially the last bullet point, that the receivers understand when they will need their goods, so they can ask the deliverers to gauge the time, because it's going to be important during the games, particularly if we have nighttime deliveries, as to when you time those deliveries and so forth. But and finally, not only was there a great legacy going on the hardware for transport, but on our systems, for instance, we've taken on board Compete 4 in our Bravo system, and you can usually get access to that through the website up there. But we've actually found that Compete 4 gives us access to the opportunities for a diverse supplier that we were trying to expand. And as you can see, each year we're still not a lot in totality, but it's improving, and we are somewhat doing 33,000 million more procurement in the current year than in 08-09. So it's growing all the time, and therefore to give you access to our work that we need to be done, and indeed we're encouraging our Tier 1 suppliers to actually go out using Compete 4, so you can have access to their subcontracts as well. So let's hope we've got 120 Fridays left until the Olympic Games start and the opening ceremony. So let's look forward to a safe and successful Games and have a great party. Thank you very much indeed.